Welcome everyone to another financial training video for CourtView. In this training video, what we're going to be covering is receipting. So that's going to entail taking in case receipts, taking in non-case receipts, how to adjust or reverse both those types, and then also how to search for those receipts. So what I've done so far for this video is I've just created a test case. I've added some costs to there. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take a look at that test case and how it looks before we start receipting. And then I'm going to jump into 3 ways of receipting in CourtView. And then we're going to take a look at how the case looks once we're receipting into it. So first things first, we're going to first search for that test case. And to do that, we're going to go up to modules up at the top left-hand corner, and we're going to go to case management. And within case management, we're going to want to go back up to functions and case initiation. This is going to allow us to search for our case. All right, in the case number field, I'm going to go ahead and paste in my case number, search for it. There it is. And what I'm just going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to open this case up. And then I'm going to go down to the third Dynalink docket entries. Just wanted to show you guys that we have thrown some costs on here. If you're unsure of how to throw cost dockets onto a case, I suggest going back to the cost video. In that video, we do cover how to throw costs on a case. So there we go. We have some costs outstanding now on this case here. We're going to go ahead and hit close once. And what I want to do is I'm going to show you guys just the cost screen. So from the docket entry screen, we go back to the main screen, and then the 6th Dynalink down on the left, we're going to do costs. So here are all of our docket applications. We got the AA fee for $95. We got a court facility fee for $10, specialty court for $7, and then a genetic marker analysis fee for $3. All of this is totaling up to $115, so that's good. And so now let's go ahead and talk about the first way of receipting onto a case. So from this screen, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and hit close and close once more. So now we're back at the case selection screen. And remember that to get to this screen, we just went up to modules, case management, and then functions, case initiation. So once you search for your case, have it highlighted. On the left-hand side, instead of choosing docket entries or even open, there is an option there called print receipts. This is the 2nd Dynalink. This one's going to be our first option into receipting. So bear in mind as well that in this video, we are not going to be covering AR receipts, so accounts receivable receipts. We are going to have another video for accounts receivable, and at that time we will be discussing how to receipt to an AR plan. So keep in mind for this video, we're just going to be talking about non-AR receipts. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit this print receipts Dynalink, and what this is going to bring up is the case receipt transaction maintenance screen. This is now going to allow us to take in some money and receipt it to a case. Up top, you're going to have your case number, the parties for that case, and then we're going to go ahead, by default, it's going to get put in the current date into the receipt date. Bear in mind that you cannot backdate receipts in CourtView. Right below that, we do have location. So if you want to go ahead and put a location as to where this receipt was taken in, you can do so by entering it in here. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that as blank. To the right of that, we can go ahead and enter in information of who had taken the payment. So we can go ahead and enter in, so by default, CourtView will go ahead and enter in the defendant information on this side, but we can go ahead and backtrack all that stuff and just type in whatever we need to. So I'm going to go ahead and just put, let's say, test, untest, say it's his brother. So we have now who this payment was received from. We can include an address if we need to. And then I'm going to tab over to that zip code field, and I'm just going to go ahead and enter in an address for Carson City. There we go. And then on behalf of, it just defaults to the defendant on the party, or the defendant on the case. So we're going to go ahead and leave that on behalf of the same. And then what we're going to go ahead and do now is move down to this payment field, this payment section. So right below, so right here, we do have an option of selecting what tender type we are accepting. You're going to probably see a lot more options for your court depending on what kind of tender types you guys accept. You may have wire transfers or online payments, things like that. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and select cash. To the right of that field, we can go ahead and enter in the amount that's going to be receipted in. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this over to $25. Once you tab off, what the system is going to do is it's going to take this 25 and start distributing the money into these cost applications, these docket applications. What the system is going to do is it's going to first put in $25 into this AA fee docket application. So I'm going to go ahead and hit tab, and you guys are going to see what happens. It automatically moves that money to the AA fee. So what happens if we enter an amount that's more than $95? That's the limit for this AA fee. That's the most it could take in. So let's go ahead and try putting in, let's say, $100. I'm going to go ahead and tab off, and what the system is going to do before I go ahead and do that, what the system is going to do is it's going to go ahead and try and pay off this top cost first, and then it's going to go ahead and try to pay off this next one here. So it's going to have a cascading effect. Once one row is paid off, it's going to start trying to pay off the next one and then the next one down. There we go. So the AA fee had $95 that was total. It applied $95, and anything in excess will just be paid off to the one below. So the system will also pay off things by default in the order of their priority. All of our cost dockets in CourtView, they have some accounts associated in the background, and those accounts are set up with a priority. Restitution is going to have the highest priority, so the system is going to try to pay off restitution first. After that, it's going to be AA fees and any type of these court facility fees, specialty court fees, things like that. These priorities are typically set by statute. Sometimes courts can call us letting us know that they want certain things paid for. But again, typically these priorities are set by statute. Okay, so with that being said, you don't have to adhere to what the system will try to pay off first. If for some reason we need to pay something off as opposed to that court facility fee, we can go ahead and highlight the money that was populated into the apply field, backspace it, and then move it to wherever we need to. There we go. See, as long as our totals match up, so we have the total for what's being applied and then the total payment taken in, those match up, we're all set to go. Bear in mind that the system does give back change, but I would double check with the court administrator or with the judge to see how your court processes change. I'll go ahead and just do that real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and put in $110. You'll see that everything on the right-hand side will get paid off. And then, I'm sorry, a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and put 120. There we go. So you'll see that in this change field, and now $5 is going to be given back. Again, I would double check to see how you guys handle change. I know some courts do it, some courts don't. So I'm going to go ahead and change this back over to $25. Hopefully it doesn't throw me an error message. Cool. So I tabbed off, and then it just played $25 to this AA fee. Okay, so now that we know how the payment works, how that money is applied over to the fee side, we're going to go ahead and move down to this comment section here. So you're able to add comments to receipts if you need to. We always recommend that you add comments, especially if there's kind of one of those cases where a lot of money is being receipted or things are just being corrected. It's always wise to leave that audit trail just in case in a couple months or in the following year you guys have an audit at your court and this case is pulled. You can look at the comments to refresh your memory as to why things were being reversed and what happened. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little test comment in there. Awesome. So now that we have everything correct, so now we have the receipt date, we see who it was received from, we have the correct tender type, the amount taken in, and then it's being applied to the correct dockets, we can go ahead and hit save. At the top left-hand side, you'll see that there is the save button. Once we save it, it's going to apply this money to the case. So let's go ahead and do that. So the system right below, you'll see that there's a little message here that'll say store successful. That lets you know that the receipt was stored successfully in the system. Then a message prompt is going to come up for a print dialog box. This, so you can choose how many copies you need to print. Typically the court will keep one and then the defendant or whoever's making that payment will get one as well. And then you just print them. So for this situation, I'm not going to go ahead and print them. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit cancel. All right, so once the receipt has been taken in, it exits out of that screen and then it takes you back to wherever you were previously. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, since I'm still in the case selection screen, I'm going to go ahead and open this, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at those dockets and as well the cost screen. So I'm going to go ahead and open. I'm going to go over to docket entries. And now we see that for the administrative assessment fee docket, originally we had $95 outstanding on it. We paid $25, and so now we're looking at $70. Awesome, so that looks good. So now, and then these other dockets are still outstanding as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the cost. So I'm going to go hit close once, and I'm going to go over to the 6th DynaLink that like we just did before. That's going to bring us back to that financial case summary screen. And so now we see that we did have $95 owed on this case. We paid $25, and now we have 70 due. So the case went from 115 having a total due to $90. So that's awesome. So now everything is updating as it should. On the left-hand side, we do have another DynaLink here called View Receipts. That is the 3rd DynaLink. I'm going to go ahead and select this one, and what it does is it just lists all the receipts that are associated to this case. So there's the receipt that we just took in. It's going to give us the case or the receipt number, the case associated to it, who was received from, if that receipt is in an open status or if it's in a posted as final status, the date in which it was receipted in, who receipted it at the court, and so it'll list the username and then the amount that was receipted in. Awesome. So let's go ahead and hit close one time. All right, I'm just going to head back over here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this screen. We are still in the case management module, and now we're going to go ahead and look at the next way of receipting in CourtView. This method is more popular amongst the courts, and we'll go ahead and jump into it as to why it is once we open up that screen. So in case management, we're going to go up to functions, and then we're going to drop down over here. You'll see that there's 2 options here, one for case receipting and the other one by case receipting by party. Both of these functions are going to allow us to receipt some money to a case, but the case receipting by party is just going to give us more search criteria to search through. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one, and that's going to give us the case receipting by party screen. As you can see, we get quite a few options for search criteria. There are times where someone will come in and try to make a payment on a case, but unfortunately they don't remember their case number. So obviously they're just going to have their name. They'll provide you their name. So we can go ahead and search for their names on here. If they want to provide their social security number and the social security number was on the case, we can search for that. We can use their date of birth. We can check for the status of the case. Up here we can search by the case number like we did for the case initiation screen. We can choose a case type, a company. So instead of it actually having some type of party like a defendant or something, if the case is on a company, then we can search for the company and then choose a party type. To the right of that, we can choose a begin and end date. So these will be searching for a case within a file date. So when the case was filed, that's what these two fields are referring to. Down below, the driver's license number, and then also you can choose ticket number or the citation number. So there are times where a defendant will just come in and they have their ticket number. Ticket numbers aren't going to have the case number just yet. So you're able to search for that citation. So again, as you can see, this is a pretty popular method of receipting in CourtView just because we have more to use to search for a case. So the system does have quite a few test names in the system, and so I don't want to bring up too many of them. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I know the case number, so I'm going to enter it into the case number field. Once you have entered in your search criteria, you're just going to hit search at the very top, and all the search results are going to pop up below. So there we go. So as you can see, we're going to get both the parties for that case that we just pulled up. All right, so what we want to do is, although you're getting both parties, because remember, this screen is searching by party, what we want to do is make sure that we are selecting the correct party on that case. So we know that test is the defendant on the case, and that's the person who needs to be paying off these fines and fees, not the district attorney's office. Okay, so what we have here is this column is going to let us know what party it is, affiliation if there is one on the case, the social security number if it was provided. Scroll over a little bit. The case number, the status of the case, non-AR due. So this is letting us know how much is due on the case that is not an AR. If the money was assigned to an AR plan, then you would see some type of amount populated here. But since we are not talking about AR in this video, it's going to be staying 0. Collection and due, if you guys have collections set up in your guys' court, then the amount will show up here. And then it will let you know as well if the money is an AR. I'm going to scroll to the left. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and receipt to this defendant here in that case. Awesome. So I'm going to highlight that, and then I'm going to choose this add case receipts. Below you'll see that add AR receipts is grayed out. If the money's not assigned to an AR plan, it's going to be grayed out. So I'm going to go ahead and select this add case receipts. And this is going to take us back to the same screen that we were just on for the first receipting method. And so this screen is the case receipt transaction maintenance screen. So same thing you're going to do for this one, just so you know, like I had stated earlier, you don't have to enter in a location, and you can leave this information blank or as is as well. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this information as is. I'm not going to change anything. Test did come in and make a payment on behalf of himself. But this time what I'm going to go ahead and do is, instead of using cash, I'm going to go ahead and do check. So let's say that the defendant made another payment of $25 using check. Once I tab off, it's going to move the money over to the right-hand side, but then also it moves down to this reference field box. Any type of payment that requires a reference number, the system will let you know. So I'm going to go ahead and tap off this field without entering anything and see what happens. The system is going to shoot up a little message prompt that letting you know that a reference required. Hit OK on that. So this is letting you know that you need to add a reference number to this tender type. So for cash, obviously we're not going to be needing a reference number, but for most things like check, credit card, money order, personal check, we're going to need that. For credit cards, usually courts will use a credit card processing machine, and when it prints out the receipt, there's some type of invoice number that courts use to enter into that reference field. So for check, I'm just going to go ahead and say that the check number was 1,000. Yeah, we'll do 1,000. We'll go ahead and put in a little comment. And then we know that all the AA fee is supposed to be being applied to. Awesome. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and pay off the bottom costs first. So this is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and pay off those bottom ones. So that should leave 5 up top. Paying off 10 here, 7, and then just 3. Always make sure that your total for the left-hand side and the total for the right-hand side match up, just so that no issues pop up in the future and you're not having to adjust out any receipts. So, all right, cool. So that looks good. We're going to go ahead and hit save. It's going to tell us store successful, good stuff. And then the print dialog box, I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. I'm not going to print any of these out. So once again, it's going to take us back to the screen that we were previously on, which is the case receiving by party. Awesome. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show that on this screen, if we scroll over to the right, we see that the non-AR due has now been updated to include that $25 payment for check that we just took in. So now what's outstanding on this case is $65. So you can see how this screen is pretty useful for the courts. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit close one time, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the next method to receipt. So back, we're going to go up to functions, and then just like I stated earlier, I had mentioned it, we're going to go into case receipting. So as you can see, a lot of the search criteria has been taken away. It only gives us the option of searching for a case number. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in the case number there. You can choose to search for a case within some type of given file date, the case status, and status. So from here, I have entered in the case number, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit search. Awesome. So it doesn't give you the same type of information that was given on the case receiving by party screen as well. It's only going to give us the case number, when it was filed, the main party on the case, and what status that case is in. So once it's highlighted on the left, we can go ahead and do add case receipts just like we saw in the previous method. And there we go. It takes us back to that same case receipt transaction maintenance screen. And we're going to go ahead and leave all this information up top the same. Okay. So now, as you guys see, now that I've paid off those 3 dockets that were below, the only thing that's left is this AA fee. The next type of tender I'm going to go ahead and take in is credit card. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this was for $25 again. I'm going to go ahead and enter in my reference number because we know that the system yells at us if we don't have that in there. I'm going to go ahead and say that this was CC-1250 for the invoice number, and that's what was printed on the receipt when I took in the credit card. Awesome. And then I'm not going to include a comment in here. It's pretty straightforward, so pretty good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Store successful, and then we get the print dialog box. Cancel. All right. So now that we've taken a look at those 3 receipts, let's go ahead and take a look at the case and see how it looks. So I'm going to hit close up here, go back up to functions, and then case initiation. In the case number field, I'm going to go ahead and paste in our case number, hit search, highlight it. I'm going to go ahead and open it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the docket entries here. So we see that the dockets below here, these have now all been paid off. We don't see some amount due on the right-hand side. All we see is an amount owed and nothing else. That lets us know that the receipt has been taken in and there is no more money outstanding for these dockets. Another thing, I'm going to go ahead and open this docket up right here. Another thing that happens when we're receipting is the system will actually include the receipt number that was receipted to this docket, and then when that receipt was taken. Okay, so that's a little bit of useful information if you're looking to find out which receipt applied to this docket here, or to a specific docket. I'm going to go ahead and open up this top one for the administrative assessment fee. So it's going to list multiple receipts here. You'll see that we have 3 receipts that were applied to the AA fee. So that's good to know. And then up top, it's letting us know the amount owed is $95. It doesn't tell us how much has been paid down, but you can figure that out by just looking at the paid costs. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close once there. There we go. So now we have 40 outstanding on this one, and that's it on this case. So let's say that we had made some type of mistake. We want to adjust out a receipt or reverse it out so that we can make some type of correction. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit close once on this one. And what I'm going to go do is I'm going to head back into the cost screen. And I'm going to go over to that view receipts Dynalink that we had headed into previously before even taking in some receipts. Okay. So here now we see all 3 of the receipts that we had taken in. The first one for cash, the second for check, and the third for the credit card. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and open up the check one. All right, let's say that we had this case number and we found out that we added an incorrect reference number for this. It should have been 100, not 1000. Unfortunately, all this information becomes static in this screen. We cannot change any of it. The only thing that we can do at this point is adjust or reverse out the receipt, re-receipt the money back into the system using the correct information. So we know that it was a check for 25, and the only thing that should have changed was the reference number, and it should have been 100. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close once on this, and I'm going to highlight the receipt. On the left-hand side, you'll see that you have 2 options of either adjusting the receipt, which is this is reversing, or reprinting. Reprinting is obviously going to give you another copy of the receipt. The adjust is going to reverse out this receipt. Before I go ahead and reverse out this receipt, I want to go ahead and state that there are 2 ways of adjusting a receipt out in CourtView. The first one is by adjusting it from the case when the receipt is in an open post set. I'll explain that a little bit further, but just remember that if the receipt is still in an open post set, we can actually go into the case and adjust it out from there. So that is the first way of adjusting it, okay? So we know that this receipt here, 277, it exists in an open post set, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. So I'm gonna head into financial management real quick and pull up the end of day cash book. So up top left, I'm gonna go to modules, financial management, and then I'm going to go up to functions and go to EOD cash book. This is our end of day cash book. All right. So this post set up here is the one that's open for receipting. So this is the post set that is in an open status. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the receipts here. So I'm going to hit maintenance and then hit search. See, here are our 3 receipts that we had taken in. So remember that these are in an open post set. So what I just stated earlier is still true. So we can adjust these receipts from the case itself. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close, close, and exit out all these screens, and we're going to head back into the case itself. All right, so I'm going to highlight this receipt and I'm going to hit adjust. I'm going to hit adjust. It's going to say reverse receipt number 277. If we're sure this is the receipt we want to reverse out, we'll just hit yes. If no, you'll hit no. So we'll hit yes. Receipt for 25 check must be re-entered. Okay. It's going to give us another print dialog box. This print dialog box is referring to the new receipt that the system just created. Whenever we adjust out a receipt in CourtView, the system doesn't delete that receipt. It simply creates another receipt in the negative amount to negate the original payment. That creates a wash in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel on here. And then it says reversal complete. Would you like to select a reversal reason for the receipt that was just adjusted? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. And this is just going to give us an option of choosing a reversal reason for this adjustment. I'm going to go ahead and put that it was user error and hit select. All right, so now you notice that another receipt was generated on this case, 279. And if you look at the far right hand side, you'll see that there's a negative 25. So again, this is going to negate that second receipt here, and that creates that wash and cancels each other out. So let's go ahead and open up that fourth one, open it, and everything is the same as we just saw, except for all the money has now been reversed out. So the check amount is negative 25, and then all the costs over here on the right hand side are reversed or negated from what they originally were taken in on. All right, so I'm going to hit close. So now that creates that wash that we're looking for, and now what we need to do is just re-receipt the money in. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to leave it as is. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the next way of receipting. So I stated earlier that we were able to reverse out these receipts from the case because they existed in an open post set, and I showed you guys that open post set. So what happens if we try to reverse out a receipt on the case, but the receipts exist in a closed post set? I'm going to go ahead and head back into financial management. I'm going to go back into end of day post set, and that post set that we were looking at, I'm going to go ahead and close it. We're going to return back to the case and see if we're still able to adjust out those receipts. So I'm just going to exit out of everything here. I'm going to head back to our little courthouse here. I'm going to go up to modules, financial management. I'm going to go to functions and then end of day cash book, just like we did previously. Okay, so this is the post set that we were talking about earlier, the open for receipting. I'm going to go ahead and hit maintenance just to show you guys the receipts in here. So there's our 4 receipts. We have the 3 that originally that we had taken in, and then we have the adjusted receipt as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit close, and I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And remember that we do have a video for end of day and how to close out these end of day post sets. So if you're unsure of what's going on here, I would advise to look at that video just in case you're curious. So, all right, so now it's an in-case book maintenance. I'm going to go ahead and post it as final. Awesome. Okay, so now that the post set is posted as final, I'm going to go ahead and hit close on here. I'm going to exit out of all this. I'm going to go up to modules, case management, functions, case initiation, just like we did previously. I'm going to go ahead and enter in the case number, hit search, highlight our case, open it, and then we're going to go back to the cost screen, and then we're going to go to view receipts. Okay, so right now it does show it, but once we click off of it and go back, you'll see that it's not going to allow us to do it. There we go. See, now we see that the adjust button has been grayed out. The only option that we have in here is to reprint the receipts. So that shows you that if the receipt is in an open post set, you're able to adjust it from the case. But if not, how are we supposed to adjust the receipt when the receipts exist in a closed post set? So let's say that the receipt was from a couple months ago, and obviously it's already in a closed post set. We still have to adjust it out because we found something a little bit later down the road. Okay. To do that, then that leads us to our second way of being able to reverse out receipts, and that is going to be through financial management. We have to locate the post set that this receipt exists in, open up that post set, and then adjust it from there. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of all of this right here. I'm going to go back up to modules. I'm going to go to financial management and go back to functions, end of day cash book. Again, this is where all of our cash books are. You may have to scroll down a little bit in order to locate your post set. But for me, I know that that receipt exists in this post set here because the receipt date coincides between these two dates here, the posting set opened and the booking date time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select this post set here. I'm going to go to maintenance on the left, and then I'm going to hit search. Okay, so as you can see, we can go ahead. Since this one has already been adjusted out, it leaves the adjust all grayed out already. So we cannot reverse a reversed receipt. But the other two receipts, we absolutely can. As you can see, we do have that adjust button that now exists. We can also not reverse out a reversed receipt. So keep that in mind. So only receipts that have not been reversed, we can adjust out. So what happens once we reverse out a receipt that is in a closed post set? We can go ahead and still do it. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and do the credit card. I'm going to go ahead and hit adjust. It's going to let me know, do you want to adjust or reverse out this receipt here? I'm going to go ahead and hit yes, I'm sure. It's going to come up with this message prompt here letting me know that was receipt 278 for reference number CC-1250 and amount $25 paid by a credit card rejected for insufficient funds. It's going to give you two options here, yes, no, and then it also gives you a description as to what happens if you select either one. Yes, or reverse receipt with NSF, non-sufficient funds tender code. This will not affect the daily deposit total for cash book. No, reverse receipt with the same tender code as the original receipt. This will affect daily deposit total for cash book. Our recommendation on the service desk is to only use this option, yes, if the receipt was actually adjusted out for non-sufficient funds. Any other reason, go ahead and hit no. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to call us on the Chalkboard service desk and we can help you out with whatever you guys are trying to correct or experiencing in CourtView. So for this one, I know that it's not sufficient funds. I just need to adjust it to do something else. So I'm going to go ahead and hit no. The system is going to tell you a receipt for $25 credit card must be re-entered. Okay, so now we're going to have to re-enter in that receipt. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to give me a print dialog box for the reversed receipt. I'm going to hit cancel. Reversal complete. Would you like to add the reversal reasons? I'm going to go ahead and hit no. Okay, so now that that has been reversed out, I'm going to hit search up top real quick, and we're going to see that only the 4 receipts exist now. Where is that adjusted receipt? Bear in mind that when we adjust the receipt that is in a closed post set, the new reversed receipt will show up in your post set that's in an open status. So I'm going to go ahead and hit close once. At the top, I'm going to highlight this one that's open for receipting. I'm going to hit maintenance, search, and that's where the receipt is. I'm going to go ahead and open it real quick, and there we go. Everything has now been adjusted out. Okay, so I'm going to close out of all of this. So those are the 3 methods of how to receipt in CourtView. And then we also discussed how to adjust out a receipt through the case, through case management, going into the case, and then by financial management and locating the end of day post set that the receipt exists in. And then we talked about those 2 reasons and why they differ. So the next thing that we need to know is we need to figure out how do we search for these. Let's go ahead and backtrack real quick. What we need to do now at this point is let's go ahead and say that we want to search for these receipts. So let's go up to the top. We're going to go to modules, case management. We're going to go to functions, case initiation. We're going to search for a case here, search. So I'm going to do open and costs, and then I'm just going to view receipts. So here, this screen here is called the view case receipt screen. This is going to list all the receipts that are associated to this case. So let's say that we're not in the case. We don't even know what case number this receipt is for, but we do have a receipt number. So let's say that we're trying to search for this receipt 279. Actually, let's go ahead and do the top one, 276. That's the cash one that we took in. So let's say that we have a receipt number and we want to search for it. We don't know any other information regarding this receipt. So I'm going to go ahead and exit back out of here real quick. Actually, I'm just going to keep the screen up here. Okay, so I'm going to go up to functions at the very top. We're still in case management. Down here, you're going to see that there is a view case receipts option. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And it looks like it's the same screen, because it is. By default, when you go to that view case receipts or view receipts by the case, the system will populate this case number field, and then it'll do the search and populate those receipts. This view case receipts, so let's say again, you don't have the case number. This screen is going to allow you to search from a receipt number, who was received from, the status, if that receipt is in an open post set, if it's finalized or in cash book maintenance. It's also going to let us search by the case number, when the receipt was taken in, so begin and end date, or if you know the reference number, the check number, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and put our receipt number. We know that one is 276. I'm going to tab off, hit search. That brings up our case right here. So there we go. So you can search for receipt numbers. Just know that it just gives us some more options, and it will just populate all the receipts below here. So that is one way of that is the way of searching for receipts in CourtView. So I'm going to hit close out of all of this and head back to that case management module here. So now we've talked about how to search for those case receipts. So the next thing that we want to discuss is how to take in non-case receipts. Non-case receipting is exactly what is stated in the title itself. It's a case receipt, but for a non-case. So that means that it creates a receipt in the system that doesn't have any ties or links to any case. So up top here at the functions, and if you scroll down, you'll see that there's non-case receipting. We're going to go ahead and select this one real quick. What comes up is the docket entry creation screen. So we already discussed that in order to receipt money to a case, there needs to be some type of cost docket associated or on the case. Well, for non-case receipting, since we don't have a case, the system automatically lets you select some type of cost docket, and then it lets you receipt to it. Again, there is no link to any case. So let's say that you don't have the docket code that you want to use. So let's go ahead and hit this little gray box. It's going to come up with all the cost dockets that are for non-case receipting. You may have more of them, you may have less of them. It's just different for each court. But let's say that someone came in and they wanted to get a certified copy of their case notes. We're going to select this docket here, and then on the left, you just hit select. This is going to bring it into that docket entry creation screen. It's going to list how much is owed for $3, but right above it, it does let us choose a number of pages. Some of them aren't going to give you this option here. It'll just be a fixed amount. But for this one, since it's charging per copy, we're going to go ahead and say that this person is looking for 5 copies. I'm going to go ahead and hit tab off, and then the field below for the amount owed is going to update to 15. So it was originally 3 per copy, 5 times 3, 15. Awesome. You can add in notes in here just in case you want to keep another audit trail. So you can add in the case number. So we can just put, delete that. Copy of case, just say that. Okay. So what happens once we save this? Once we save it, the system is going to have us receipt our money. So let's go ahead, and we've entered in our comments. We know the amount owed is correct. We have the correct docket that we want to use against. So we hit save, and now the system is going to take us back to the case receipt transaction maintenance screen. This is the same screen that we saw for cases, but this one just doesn't have any type of association to a case. So we're going to go ahead and do the received from. We're just going to say make test, and then I'm just going to leave that information. I'm going to go ahead and enter in the rest. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is 9876 Test Avenue, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put Carson City. So the person had paid with $15 cash. That's right. I'm going to go ahead and you can change these tender types if you need to, but this one just defaulted for cash. It's going to go to that cost docket for 15. Awesome. All I have to do is hit save. It says the store was successful, and then it comes up with the print dialog box. Awesome. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hit cancel on this right here, since I don't need to print the receipts. Okay, so now the same way that we were able to view case receipts, we can go ahead and go to functions and then do view non-case receipts. It's going to give us the same search criteria minus anything that might be associated to a case. So that case number field, gone. These begin dates are going to be for when the receipt was taken in. So let's say that I knew this receipt was taken in today, so I'm going to put 12/13/2019. And I'm also going to put that same date in there for the end date because I know it's on just a single day. Give it a sec. There we go. So there is our receipt that we just took in for the certified copy fee. We have our receipt number, the description, who was received from, what status it is in. If we were to close out that post set, it would give us a closed, and then the date that the receipt was taken in, and then the amount. I'm going to go ahead and hit close one time. And then I'm just going to go ahead and show one more thing here. So I'm going to go back up to modules, financial management. I'm going to go up to functions, and then back to the end of day cash book. This is the one that's currently open, so all of our receipts are going into that one. I'm going to hit maintenance, search. There we go. So you'll see that instead of listing a case number for the certified description, it'll just include the comment in the docket. So we had put in defendant needed copy of case 19 CR 14. So that's what's going to pull up here. So if you don't have anything in that comment section for the docket, then this could just be blank. Go close. So again, what the things that we had discussed here is we went through how to receipt to a case, and that was by the print receipt screen option, the case receipting by party, the case receipting, and then we looked at how those affect the case. We looked at how to adjust receipt from case management, that was by going into the case, how to reverse out a receipt through financial management through the end of day post set. What are those two differences? How to search for the case receipts, how to take in non-case receipts, and then also how to search non-case receipts. Thank you guys. If you have any other questions regarding receipting, please give us a call at the trial court service desk. Thank you.